All right, let us move ahead to our next guest. He returns to action February 13th at UFC 258. He's going to take on Chris Weidman, a big fight at 185 pounds. It's also a rematch from the regional scene from over a decade ago. But I love this matchmaking, and I'm happy to be joined by primetime Uriah Hall. How are you, sir?
Pretty good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's great to have you here, Uriah. Before we get into the fight, I do want to discuss some of the cool things going on in Dallas at Fortis MMA because I've talked to a lot of fighters over the last several months who train there, and they've told me how pivotal your presence has been at the gym, helping to sort of mold this team environment. And now we're starting to see like the next generation of Fortis fighters get their opportunities. Fighters like JP and Cheyenne Bays, who just got contracts. We just saw Austin Lingo get his first UFC win on Saturday. So how exciting has it been for you to see your teammates, these up and comers, start to get some of that notoriety and make some waves with these opportunities?
Honestly, it feels really good because the last time I felt like I was really a part of the team was before I did The Ultimate Fighter. And, the team I was with, it was that camaraderie base. And just to kind of be one of the, I guess, experienced one or veterans, if you want to use that word, to kind of see these up and comers or, younger generation in the sport like Cheyenne. I remember meeting Cheyenne like way back at Extreme Couture and before she even was a top notch. And I just remember her being a beast. And she went over to Africa. She married JP and they lived there for a while. And I remember she was telling me she's coming to Texas and her first session, apparently, Safe said, "Hey, man, you've kind of felt like Uriah." So it was kind of cool to just overall see that growth. And of course, her husband, too, because I've been training with him. I saw what he had to go through and he couldn't really get his paperwork finalized properly because of COVID. And he was supposed to fight, so he didn't really get his paperwork properly. And, they went through a lot and they stayed focused and we stayed focused as a team. And overall, we just improved.
Especially seeing like JP go through all of that as a young guy, especially in this sport. He handled it with such composure. I remember interviewing Cheyenne after she got the contract and JP was driving the car, and they just have such good vibes. But to see him handle all that the way that he has and kind of come through on the other side with the contract, what was that like to see?
Oh man, they're mold for each other. They're probably one of the best couples I've ever. I mean, I hang around them a lot. They just fit each other. I can't describe it. You have to kind of be around them and see how they just made for each other. Just the way they interact with each other. They're a perfect team in and outside of training. I've hung out with them, of course. I've trained with them and they push each other. But man, it just meshed. You want to talk about the perfect puzzle that just fits? That's them too.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Obviously, a lot going on at Fortis. So one of the other reasons I'm glad you're here, Uriah, is because this chat, in a weird way, it's like 5 years in the making. Because I remember I was probably like a year into the sport doing interviews, and I got a DM on Facebook from a gentleman by the name of Arshay Cooper, someone who you know very, very well. And he reached out about possibly doing a conversation with you, and unfortunately weren't able to figure out logistics. But Arshay and I chatted several times about like a lot of the work you were doing in the community for the kids, which was just really amazing to hear. But I know how important that is for you. So I'm wondering, with like the pandemic and what 2020 was like for everybody, things being shut down and whatnot, are you still able to get out there as much as you would like in terms of getting out there for the community? Like, what has that been like to navigate with everything going on?
Well, first off, Arshay Cooper, my best friend, who was actually he's been in the hospital for a while. Man, this is one of the most outgoing person I've ever met. He's very vibrant, brings a lot of energy to the table, and he's been in the hospital for a while. And I would say a couple of weeks ago, I FaceTimed him, and he couldn't even say one sentence, and it was so weird to see that because of COVID. He was I believe he was in ICU, and I wanted to fly there. He had his newborn baby. His wife is there. She's calling me every day. I remember losing sleep because I told her to call me anytime, and it was even before practice or after practice or during practice. She was constantly calling me because, she's freaking out. That's her rock. And, of course, we're all just trying to stay positive. And there was a couple of scary moments where it was like, this is it. And I'm not going to lie, I had a couple of moments where I was like, you know what, I'm probably going to have to cancel this fight to go out there and beat my best friend. But He's doing a little better now, thankfully. I spoke to him yesterday, and he's actually, finishing his sentences. So it's really cool to see overall. But we haven't really got a chance to really do much because I'm out here training and I'm getting ready. And it was like right after the last fight, which is Anderson Silva, I had a little bit of downtime because I was literally training for an entire year straight. I mean, I didn't take any time off. I locked myself in the gym with the whole pandemic. I stayed focused. A couple fights didn't happen. But usually when I'm in New York, he'll invite me to speaking gigs to go to schools, and we talk to kids. We work with kids. He's a part of the rowing team. He has a beautiful show on Amazon. It's called A Beautiful Thing, actually. That's what it's called. And it's about the first black rowing team, which is in the south side of Chicago. And it talked about their story, and each person was individual, and how they kind of came out of that, which you never really hear of. It's Chicago, and they were the first black rowing team. And if you look at a lot of rowings, you hardly see any black kids in there. So it's a very inspiring story. I definitely think everybody should check it out. But he's been doing that, and he's been making waves with that. He wrote a book, but it's usually when we're around each other, we brainstorm, and he invites me along, and I love it because I'm all about kids.
Wow, I'm sorry to hear that about Arshay. I had no idea, honestly.
Yeah.
I know. He's such a good guy. Like I know just based on what he's been doing. Like he's written a couple of books. I remember he actually sent me a copy of Sugar Water. I've read that.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And then A Most Beautiful Thing, obviously, like you talked about. And I saw a clip that you were a part of that. There's a scene where you joined the gym with those guys and you passed on some words of wisdom. Like what was that like for you to be a part of that and to see the story get the attention and the rave reviews that it's gotten?
It's a beautiful thing. So, I mean, I kind of grew up with Arshay. We met each other a long time ago. It was weird how we met each other, how we both kind of came out. I was coming out of my office. He was dropping off one of his friend's kid, and we just had this like weird stare down, like, who the hell is this guy? We literally had that look. I went my way, he went his way, and then we ended up meeting at the party, and we've been inseparable. But just being around him and just hanging out with him and with everything that's happening, the main thing is just staying focused. I mean, there's not much to say. It's just staying focused and positive. I kind of lost track of the question. What was the question again? It was
just being in the documentary and being part of the story and seeing it all go up.
So he invited me because the guys. He wanted to pump him up a little bit, get him a little motivation and stuff like that. You've been out of the segment for a while, 20 years. So especially for athletes, or even if you're not, your body's going to be changing overall. I mean, every second we're aging. We just aged 5 minutes ago. So as that progresses, it's important to kind of understand your body, the mechanisms behind it, and how to kind of easily go up that ramp so you don't cluster in. You hear New Year's resolution. Everyone's like, new year, new me. Every gym in America is rich for the first month, right? We've all been there. So it was more of just like, okay, what's the delicate factor of this? How do we gain some of that physical attributes so they can, get better at their sport. But at the same time, mentally, they wanted me to speak to them a little mentally to kind of tell them that, this is a second chapter and it demands a better version of you. And it's what you do with it. And I basically told them, listen, one of you guys is going to want it more than the other. But I think in this whole realm, you're going to figure out who really wants it. So use this opportunity to get better physically and mentally and grow from it.
Yeah, shout out to Arshay, great guy. We actually share the same birthday, which coincidentally enough is the day before your fight with Chris Weidman, right?
Oh, that's right. He's February 13th. No.
He's the 12th.
12, yeah.
So there you go. Wonderful human being, tremendous storyteller. Go check out A Beautiful Thing. It's really good stuff. Your story, Uriah, it's going to continue on February 13th against Chris Weidman. But I want to go back to 2020 in a way, because like we referenced earlier, wild year. You actually had 4 fights on the books. Only one of them happened, but it ended with you getting a big win over Anderson Silva on Halloween. So I guess in a way, all's well that ends well. But when you look back on 2020 in the future, how will you describe that year in your career?
Probably the best year of my life. I think every and I'm just speaking personally, every chapter demands a better version of you. And I feel like that was just a very uncomfortable chapter in my life. There was a lot of uncomfortable personal stuff that happened with me. I'm sure we all have our own problems. For me, it was literally sitting down with all my demons and just give them all instructions. We all have demons, and whether it's bad attitude, bad way of thinking, or just overall negativity. And I had to kind of compromise with that. So once I decided to step into the gym and live in the gym, and become isolated, with the pandemic happening and how everyone was just freaking out so easily, I was able to gain that focus. And I realized the importance of my focus. It's mental. It's kind of like COVID. I had COVID last month, and man, I had to crawl out of hell. I've never experienced that before. It hit everyone so differently. And even when my buddy Arshay was sick, I told him, listen, it's going to take everything away from you. It's going to take your physical part, everything. And the last thing it's going to leave is mental. He's going to leave this last thing's going to leave. And I remember being so sick, like, holy crap. The only thing I had left was my mind. So it's just important overall to keep that positive and focused mindset. And I picture it like having blinders. There's my goal, there's where I want to go, and I have to just focus on that. Once in a while I can peep out, but it doesn't mean I'm going to peek out and follow that direction. It means I'm going to peek out to make sure I'm good, and I'm just going to go forward. So it was very important for me to stay focused.
When you say give instructions to your demons, like, what do you mean by that? I'm curious.
It was just pretty much, I had to really dig deep and look inside myself and say, okay, what are the negative things, the things that are not helping me to get to where I need to be? I had to be really honest with myself. You can lie to everybody, but the one person you can never lie to is yourself. And I encourage just a lot of people to literally sit down and have a one-on-one with themselves. Because a lot of people are like, yeah, I have alone time. And I'm like, what's alone time? Oh, I read a book, I walk my dog. I'm like, that's not alone time. Alone time is literally sitting down one-on-one with yourself. But like, all right, man, these are your bad habits. What are you going to do? And we all know our bad habits, but it's attacking them. It's digging deeper. I mean, I had to go so far back to figure out that there's a little Uriah that was, that I didn't fix, that was being picked on in junior high school. I had to go, talk to that guy. I forgot he was there. So that's what I meant by like really sitting down with your demons, the negative affirmations, the negativity, the bad habits. Even if it's something simple as eating fucking ice creams at 12 o'clock at night. And I had to sit down with those because I had alone time. I had nothing else to do. I'm in a big ass gym. It was scary. And with everything happening, it was like, shit, I need to make some friends. All right, Tom, Luke, Dick, and Harry. And I kind of be like, all right, why are you here? This is what you're doing. You're messing up. You need to go. You haven't paid rent yet. I kind of gave them all the instructions. And at the same time, I learned a little bit more about me. So spending time with yourself is very important because look at the world these days. I mean, honestly, what the hell is going on? What is going on? So I have to say, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, it's so interesting to hear you talk like that, especially when you going back and finding little Uriah and talking about the kid that got bullied in middle school and stuff. Like, how freeing is that after like having those conversations? I'm sure you still have to deal with that from time to time, but like, how freeing of a feeling is that after having those conversations with yourself?
I would say it's liberating because it was a problem that I didn't see. I mean, there were surface problems, but I had to really dig deep. And sometimes, you have people talk to therapists or whatever, and they found out when you were 5 years old, something happened to you. So I did it for myself. I was like, okay, well, why is this affecting this? Okay, no, what's affecting that? Okay, but how did this get affected? So I kept going back until I realized, like, oh shit, it was Uriah. I got to talk to that guy. He was all crumbled up, scared and shit, afraid of the world, and stuck in that lost place where he just felt trapped. And that's a personal thing that I have to do for myself. I'm sure a lot of people are going through it. A lot of people don't want to talk about it, but I've gained enough confidence to do that. And if I can reach out to anyone, I encourage it.
What did present Uriah say to young Uriah?
President Uriah said, it's okay. It's not your fault. I got your back. I'm going to protect you. And that's what I'm doing.
Well said. I appreciate you sharing that. As you've probably seen, Anderson Silva is no longer with the UFC, which is probably a good thing for him, because if he wants to continue to fight, he can. And I feel like that's his decision to make and not anybody else's. But, you know, you're going to go down in history as the last guy to fight and the last guy to defeat Anderson Silva in the UFC. So I'm curious, what means more to you, being the last guy to share the octagon with him, or being the last guy to defeat him in the octagon? Because I know that was a pretty emotional contest for you.
Well, first off, when I saw him, maybe back in 2010 or 2009, I remember looking at him saying, I would love to train with this guy, you know, and people were comparing. I didn't really know who he was. And then I was like, wow, I guess I'm kind of similar in a way. But I started to watch him, of course. I idolized him so much. I had so much respect for him because he made me feel like I wasn't alone. I was crafty, you know, I was creative. And this creativity is just something you have to feed. Of course, a portion of my career, I forgot about that creativity because, you know, when you start to listen to people, you start to listen to these negative affirmations or things or comment or opinions, you slowly forget who you are. And it was a perfect quote that I heard by Les Brown that says, you know, someone's opinion of you should never become your reality. And I think that I've probably done that, to be really honest with myself, that I've chosen to listen to others. And, you know, you hear people say all the time, which Uriah is going to show up. And I started to believe that, oh shit, which Uriah is going to show up. But you got to understand how certain things happen dynamically. It's like no one's really the best fighter in the world. You're the best fighter that day, that time, that moment. And that's what I love about MMA, because anyone could be beaten. But, you know, a lot of times, whether it's media or other things that will change the principles of it, you look at the old school ways of the UFC and stuff, it was more about honor, integrity, and all that stuff. It doesn't exist anymore, which is, I get. And, you know, you have to evolve with the game. So now trash talking is a thing. Is it good and bad? It's good because it sells. It's bad because then, is that really you? So I used to struggle with that because I'm like, well, why do I have to be fake to be something I'm not? I don't want to be fake. I was taught to be myself. The martial arts background I was taught was to be honorable, especially to me. So I had to struggle with that, and especially in the limelight, and especially when there's a camera in front of you all the time following your daily activities. So now everyone gets to see you, and they get to form their own opinion, and they don't really know the real you. So now you start to be like, well, I guess that's me. Oh, no, that's not me. Oh, that's me then. And then you slowly forget who you are. But I don't think being the last guy to beat Anderson Silva or knock him out, it doesn't do it for me. For one, I respect him too much to even claim a title like that. I think the best thing for me to say that I've accomplished is to be able to train with him. And I did text him after. You know, I hit him up on Instagram. I'm like, listen, I don't know if it's my place, but I've always wanted to train with you. That was actually initially my first goal. I would love to have the honor to train with you if you let me. And he was like, absolutely, brother. I'd love to. And he was at vacation at the time. So hopefully after this, you know, I can get to move around a little bit with the legend.
That's really cool. What a moment that will be for you when you actually get to do that. Cause it's going to be a totally different experience, right? Like you spent, you know, several minutes in the octagon with him, but being able to take some of that wisdom home with you, that's gonna be a whole different ball game, is it not?
Oh yeah. I'm excited about that. That's fun for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things I was curious about is one of the fighters you were scheduled to fight last year, it was Yoel Romero, and that one didn't end up happening. And now it looks like it won't because he's gone on to another organization with Bellator now. And you don't strike me as a guy who has a lot of regrets in this fight game that we're involved in, but is there a part of you that's a little bummed that fight may not happen anytime soon?
Yeah, I mean, you never know, but a great analogy I was told was like you hold on to like a glass of water, even if it's half or it's full. You hold on for too long, you know, it's going to be painful. It's going to hurt. So how long can I hold on to it? The opportunity didn't present itself. Things happens for a reason, and my mom told me, I think right after the whole thing of fights being canceled, and I'm not gonna lie, I lost motivation because it sucks to isolate yourself and put yourself through that rigorous training and cut weight twice, and then it's not happening, and then you have to readjust your mind. It was like, and I think the worst part about that is the support system. If you don't have the proper support system, and it doesn't mean like, hey, it's gonna be okay. You got to have those people to kind of still keep that rhythm flowing, because that rhythm is flowing and then it goes down. If you don't have that rhythm picking back up again, it's going to be hard. And I remember times I had to call my coach Clayton Hires, and I was like, I can't do this, coach. I can't. I was Airbnb. My house was in Vegas at the time. I was in Vegas for like maybe 6-7 months, Airbnb. I'm spending money both ways. It was like, I can't do this. I'm wasting. And luckily, he was there to encourage me that, listen, man, this is not going to last forever. And I'm telling you, at some point, you're going to look back and be like, man, I'm glad I didn't quit. So, I'm glad I didn't quit. I'm glad I stuck to it. And there's more work to be done.
Yes. And that work continues February 13th. You take on Chris Weidman. You guys actually met in your 5th pro fight, I think it was, for Ring of Combat, and Chris got the win. I mean, that fight must have seemed like a freaking lifetime ago, man. But when you saw Chris's name on the other side of the contract, how did you react to that?
Initially, I didn't, listen, I love challenges. That's why I'm so creative. And you put a big obstacle in front of me, I will figure it out. If you ever watch Dragon Ball Z, my favorite cartoon character is Goku, and he's one of those guys where it's like, the bigger the challenge is, the bigger the reward. But I love that excitement. And for a lot of fights that didn't happen go my way, I wasn't motivated. I'm not going to lie to you, I wasn't. And the mind is a big deal in this sport. There were tons of fights I didn't want to do. I did not want to take those fights. And it was either forced on me or pressured on me. I'm like, all right, whatever. But shit happens. I learned from it. I took what I can and I move forward. If I live in the past, I'm just going to get depressed. And if I go too far in the future, it brings anxiety. So I'm trying to be here and take what I can. But when I saw his name, I was like, all right, it's cool. It's just like Antonio Carlos Jr. I didn't want to fight him. I remember getting that call, and I was in Sweden. And my coach, Safi was like, hey, man, this is what we're going to do, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, me and Carlos, we're kind of homies. He's like, what? So I had to separate those emotions. I mean, you should have seen us, bro. On fight week, we're all hugging each other. And my coach said, what the hell are you doing? Why don't you find this dude tomorrow? What are you hugging him for? I'm like, we're buddies. But I had to separate those emotions. So seeing Chris' name, I was like, I didn't want to fight him. I wanted to fight Till because I would be motivated to destroy him. But it was like, okay, you know what? This was an old thing that I always wanted to do. So let's get it cracking. I'm sure he's thinking I already know what he's going to do. There's no way this dude will stand with me. I encourage him, but there's no way he's going to do it. So we were prepared for it. But it's a motivation. I'm training hard. But the main thing is I'm staying composed and focused. And when I have those two, man, I'm dangerous.
Do you remember anything about that first fight? I know you want to make it a distant memory. You don't want to dwell on things from the past, but do you think about that one a lot?
It took me a while. It took me a while to even watch that fight because I never lost before. It was my first loss. And I was like, shucks. When it happened, prior to it happening, there's a crazy story behind it. The organization I was working for, there's a corporate place in New Jersey. One of the front desk guy, or I don't know what his title was at the time, this douchebag just kept saying he's a great wrestler. He's a great wrestler. I'm like, dude, I don't give a shit. It never bothered me, whoever you are. A fight is a fight. But he kept saying it. And for some reason, I remember one day it just got in my head. And I was like, shit, what if he takes me down? So that was the window of that open fear. It's my kind of first window of fear. And I remember going there like, shit, don't get taken down. Don't get taken down. And then I focused more on his attributes than my skill set. And I got clipped, I got clipped. I wasn't out. But I got clipped, and, the refs, they're like, oh, he's dying. Let me save him. And they stopped the fight. But I just remember dealing with that loss, and it took me a while to get over. And I just said, you know what? I'm going to dedicate myself to go to wrestling practices, school, whatever, get comfortable with the uncomfortable. I went to a bunch of wrestling gyms. I ran with Mark Munoz at the time, Extreme Couture. I wanted to get so comfortable to get rid of that fear. And I'm not going to lie, man, I welcome it. Because I know guys like that, I know what they're going to do. Listen, wrestling is very important for the sport, to control. Look at Khabib, man. It's so important, but it's not my forte. I'm not going to go in there and hug you for what? I'm going to beat you up the old fashioned way. But that's what I love about MMA, because you never know what's going to happen.
It's the challenge. It's the puzzle, right? Putting it all together.
Challenge, putting it all together right then and there. So I love it, man.
So you're entering this fight on a 3-fight winning streak, and now you have the opportunity to notch wins over back-to-back former champions, back-to-back first ballot UFC Hall of Famers when that time comes. First fight with Chris aside, what does that mean to you to get put in this position, to have that opportunity to fight guys like that and see where it takes you?
It's great. I think overall it's been the best thing to even come to this gym. You know, I've traveled around all over to a lot of gyms. The last gym I was at was with Rafael Cordero. I was training with Kelvin. Kelvin and I are like, best buds. So I still wanted to find that home. And I remember having a conversation with him one day, and I was like, man, I love the fact that they treat you like this, person with, I don't know. I just told him that this is your home, and I want that feeling, but I didn't feel it. And I have nothing bad to say about it. I mean, some of the best training I've ever done. I mean, those guys are really animals. And of course, me and Kelvin, we literally beat each other up every time we spar. And that's what I love about it, because we can literally destroy each other. Like, hey, man, tacos later? Yeah. So we have that connection. But I didn't feel that home environment. And at the time, I was dating someone who invited me down here, and I fell in love with it. The strength and conditioning program is what sold me, because as an athlete, it's like a car. You got to fine tune it. You got to look at the tires. So I rotate them. So I change the oil. Should I do this? So I feel like as I'm getting older, my body's doing that, and I have to train differently. So it's like, all right, my workout should be hard, but my recovery should be a little bit higher. Back when you were younger, it was vice versa. So I'm learning all these things. It's very structured, because my background is structure, man. When anything is structure, I'm in, because structure brings discipline, and with discipline, I can succeed in anything. So of course, with Safe Saud and Mike Scatia and our recovery program, everything just fit, and I was communicating with everybody, and I wanted more. And then he was like, "Hey man, make the move down here," and I was hesitant, because I'm like, I ain't moving no damn Texas. The hell I look like. But you think of a place that you never been. Everyone thinks everybody out here wear cowboy boots and Texas, the hats, but it's not true, man. It's not. That's like way out. But it's a great move, and I'm happy I made it, and I'm still growing. I'm not done. I realize that I'm getting older in the sport, and it's your mindset. I'm 36 years old, and I feel like I'm Benjamin Button. I feel stronger. I definitely feel fast, and I'm utilizing that. I'm learning so much more about my body, how to use it, how to manipulate it, what works, what don't, what to emphasize on, what to take energy away from, what not to give energy. It's amazing. So I think everything happens for a reason. And looking back, just like Steve Jobs said, you look back and everything kind of makes sense. You're like, oh, okay, that's why I went that way. Oh, that's why I fell off the cliff. You kind of look back and everything just kind of folds into the way it should. And listen, at the end of the day, I got to be the one to go out there and do what I do. So I can bring my coaches and everybody, but they're at the end of the octagon. So I got to put it all together. And it's a challenge, man. I love it. I wouldn't trade it for the world. When I was younger, I wanted to be a businessman. I don't know what a businessman was. I thought I saw a guy with a briefcase and a suit, and I thought that was cool. Thank God I didn't do that shit. But, my office is an octagon. I get to beat people up for a living, legally. So it's fun.
Chris, obviously, former champion. He's had a little bit of an up and down run as of late. He's coming off the gritty win in his last fight against Akhmedov. The Dominic Reyes fight up at 205, probably a night he doesn't want to remember, but still, even like in a lot of his losses, he's very competitive. Like even in a lot of those, he's probably winning until the fight gets ended or he gets stopped. Like, what have you seen or made of his recent run? Because he still has eyes on regaining that title, and that third round against Akhmedov showed he's still got a little bit of pep in the step.
It's all about your mindset. I'm not going to take anything away from him. He was a champion. He will always be a champion. I just want a taste of it. Most of these guys got a taste of it, and that's what I'm doing. For Morris, he's an athlete. He's been an athlete for however long, and there's ups and downs in this sport, but it's how you count them. Are they really ups and downs, or are they really lessons in progression? So if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. And, I expect him to bring his best. He has to. I'm going to bring my best. And if you don't, it's not going to be a good night for him. But I'm determined. I mean, I'm working my ass off, man. I mean, I literally just crawled out of hell from COVID. I'm working my ass off, and there's no excuse. There's really no excuse. So there's battles that being fight outside the octagon. There's battles fighting in there. Unfortunately, the world don't see that. That's the age we live in right now. It's like, who's that kid the other day that won against that Bucky kid? Bucky? The guy with the ninja kick.
Joaquin Buckley, Alessio
Buckley.
DiCerico against Joaquin Buckley.
Yeah, that guy. I saw his press, and he said something about he doesn't want to do the interview because, he didn't appreciate the fact that we only interview only winners. I get it. I totally get it. I mean, that guy's kind of woke. He sees what's happening. I get it. I got respect for him.
I get what he's saying to a certain degree because I'll talk to anybody. I don't care. I'll talk to an amateur who's never fought before. I'll talk to a UFC champion. I'll talk to everybody in between. I get where he's coming from. I just felt like in that moment, it's kind of a tough place because unless you're like in a main event or in a title fight or something like that, I don't think Joaquin Buckley was up for having a conversation with John Anik after that. I mean, maybe he was. I'm not Joaquin Buckley. I have no idea. But you know what I mean? Right. Like, I respect the hell out of what he did, though. It just seems kind of...
That's exactly what I'm saying. I mean, some people are going to get it. Some people are going to not. But as an athlete that competes and been on both ends, I'm probably going to get it more than someone that doesn't really take it to that level. So I totally understand it. Totally. Because I've been on both ends. And I looked at it, too. You take the Super Bowl, you lose. No one gives a fuck about you. But that's the world we live in. But I get where he's coming from. I understand it. I totally understand it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It was quite the stand to take. It got a lot of attention and in and out of the media room in 40 seconds. So good on him. He gets to go and celebrate the victory after that. But a couple of weeks ago, Dana White was doing a virtual Q&A with Laura Sanko. And he was asked like what he thinks is like the deepest division in the UFC. And he thinks the middleweight division could be the deepest in the UFC right now. Cause you got, Adesanya is the champion. He's about to move up and challenge Blachowicz for the 205 title. You guys got the rest of the guys at the top. And then like rounding up the top 10, it's yourself and Derek Brunson and now Kevin Holland's in the top 10. Do you agree with Dana? Like when you look at the up and down the landscape of this division, do you feel like 185 is the deepest division in the promotion right now?
I don't think so. I mean, yeah, there's some big and good guys, but maybe he's saying that because of the publicity that Homeboy is getting right now. I think the lightweight, man, or any lighter weight, the 35, the 45, the 55, fucking 125, Shevchenko, man, Jesus Christ. Like, that chick, I actually, we were talking on Instagram. I was like, hey, I would love to move around with you. I think she took it the wrong way that I want to spar. I'm like, no, I'm not trying to spar you. I want to feel your groove, man. I see her groove and I'm like, yo, that groove is awesome. But that's the type of guy I am. I spar with like the 125ers and the 135ers, 45, because those guys are fast. And they're like 3-4 steps ahead of you. It's called challenging. I like that stuff. But I think the lighter weights, man, there are some. I don't see a lot of middleweights, like, unless it's myself, posing like a real coolness of dynamic. But I like the lighter weights. I like watching those guys. So.
What's like sparring with a guy like Miles Johns? Because that dude is, I mean, that guy for a 135er is a tank, man. Like, what is that like sparring with a guy like that?
I don't spar him that much, but the one person I spar with, and I'm like, bro, this dude's a real problem, is JP Baez. I mean, he's good. He's really good. I was like, if you were my weight, I'll be done. I see the way he's throwing guys around on his weight. I'm like, man, is he really that strong? But I kind of imagine if I was his weight, I was like, man, I'll be done too. He's really good. I think he's underrated. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people, man. And he's very dedicated. He's one of those guys where we have to be like, bro, stop training so hard. You have to tone down his training. But it's good to have that mindset, His wife, Jesus Christ. Cheyenne just have this swag. It's like she beats you up so, what's that they used to call it for Cub Swanson? Beautiful destruction? That's what I call her.
Something like that.
She's like beautiful destruction, yeah. I love watching her fight, man. She's dope.
She's a savage. She debuts in March. I'm excited for that.
Uh,
What do you make of Adesanya making the jump up?
I know it's just gonna get me in trouble. I think this dude is just picking fights, man. He's picking fights, and maybe he has that leverage, but maybe it's because I want to fight him so bad. I really want to fight. The last time I wanted to fight someone so bad was Josh Man on The Ultimate Fighter. I want to fight him so bad because I get him. He's dynamic, and there's not a lot of dynamic people left. And for those that are dynamic and not winning, they're trying to be flashy. There's dynamic with fluidity, and I have that fluidity. It's coming out. I lost it for a while because I was like in La La Land, but man, I'm putting my shit together. But good God, I want to fight this fucker so bad. But you know what? With the freaking everything, the politics, the media, it's like someone saying, well, you're not worthy yet. Or the ranking system. We here think you're number 8. We feel that you're number 8. We've never competed before, but we think you're number 8. Get the fuck out of here. Who comes up with this ranking system? It's a joke. So you're going to tell me what number I am? I feel like a little slavery is behind that. Anyways, I think in my mind, just like a lot of people, they have to feel like they're the best. They're number 1. Yeah, you have flaws. Yeah, you have ups and downs, but they're your ups and downs. They're your lesson. Last time I checked, it's called my life, not your fucking life. You live in your own fucking life. I'm living my life. So how the fuck are you going to come here and tell me what I should do? Get the fuck out of here.
I'm not telling you anything. I'm not telling you anything.
Man. It's politics. It's politics, but you got to play the game. And when I was younger, I was like, yeah, I'll fight anybody. Like when I fought, he was the champ? Shit, Robert Whittaker. I fought 4 times that year. I didn't want to fight. I think I just got off a fight with Gegard, and that was like in a 3-week because someone pulled out and I had to replace someone. And I already trained for a bunch of camps. I think I trained for 6 camps. Maybe one didn't happen. I remember one didn't happen. It was Jotko. Jotko didn't happen. I was mentally, physically tired, and my dumbass manager made me do it. And I was like, dude, I'm tired. Like I'm tired. And it was one of those, I was like, fuck it, I got to suck it up. And the worst thing that ever happened to me when I fought Robert Whittaker, I caught a staph when I landed. I had a staph on my toe, a big freaking hematoma thing on my toe. And I got on antibiotics. I've never been on antibiotics. And if anybody knows what antibiotics is, it makes you delayed. It's like, I'll get hit and I'll block after, so it made me delayed. But I'm like, man, I shouldn't make any excuses. But I'm like, fuck, I fucked up. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. I'm not taking anything away from him. He was the champ. He's a stud. I have nothing bad to say about Rob. I love the kid. He's a cool dude. But there's a lot of decisions that I made in my career that I did not want to do. And most of those fights that I've lost, I'm telling you right now, I did not want to do them. But you got to play the game. You got to be a yes man. That's what they do to you.
So you wanting to fight Adesanya, this is a purely competitive thing, like the flow,
beyond
the way he fights.
I really want to fight this guy because I'm very competitive like that. You should see me playing video games, man. I'd be cursing. If the audio could hear what I'd be saying, they would delete my account because I'm cussing my ass off. So I'm very competitive. I mean, it could be the simplest thing. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna win. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. And it's just coming from a very pure competitive side, But you got to kind of weave through the politics and all that to get to him. I got to do what I got to do to get to him. That's what I want. I was hoping he wouldn't leave the title because I'm like, I want to beat you, but even better, I'll get there, grab it, and I'll come to you. I'm just very competitive like that, and he's one of those guys that I know will bring the best out of me. I mean, they thought an Anderson fight with him was cool. Wait till you see this shit. It's just a matter of time.
I hear you. First things first, February 13th. How do we get this thing done? Are we past like the prediction part of your career, Uriah, or do you see this going a certain way?
Man, I'm not good at looking in the future. I mean, I'm not good at staying in the future. I can look at it but I've learned to not stay there. But I just personally feel that I'm going to expect a really, competitive fight because I know he has to bring his best and I'm going to bring my best, but it should be good. If it's not good, he's probably going to hug me to win, but I'm making sure that doesn't happen. But I'm going out here to beat him up. That's my game plan, my mindset, and I'm sure his mindset is the same thing too, because we're athletes. Like I said, I got nothing bad to say about Chris. Every time I've met him, it was like, hey, what's up, man? You good? I'm actually really good friends with Matt Serra, so it's kind of a bittersweet, but it's just business, man. We got to separate those emotions. A part of me is like, it's a little bit of payback, but he's in my way, and I got to get to homeboy over there. So I just got to be like, I'm sorry, bro. I got to do what I got to do.
Fair enough. Last thing for me, Uriah, and I appreciate you giving me so much time today. What are you hoping?
This is fun.
Oh, I appreciate it. What are you hoping 2021 brings you from a personal level? Like not just with fighting, because obviously like there's certain goals you have in the octagon, but like outside of the cage as well. Like what sort of things are you hoping happens in 2021 for you from a personal standpoint?
Wow. That hit me. That was good. I have a lot of personal goals, small ones, but from 2020, I didn't make any predictions. I didn't, have any main thing in my mind. It was just, all right, get to this. But I've learned to just let go. It's probably one of the best things I can do, just to let go, let go of that control. I mean, there's things you can control and there are things that are out of your control. And I've always tried to control things, whether it's things or my opinion towards people of what I think they should do. And listen, man, everyone has their own story. It's kind of hard to explain, but I think the older you get, for me at least, I'm realizing real value here. Like real value is time. Time, whether you wasted, time you've invested, time that you've given to someone, time that was either taken away. It's so crazy. I've been more in love with myself and put myself first to blossom from that. There's an old saying, you don't need someone to complete you. You need someone to accept you completely. And what that taught me was we all got shit. You got shit, I got shit, he got shit. Sometimes you gotta get rid of some of your shit. Sometimes you gotta handle more shit. We all got our shit. So it's just finding someone to put up with your shit. No one's perfect. But to separate that, of course, and, going to the octagon, that's a different type of goal. I'm trying to become champion. I'm trying to fight the best guys. I'm in a perfect place to do that. But outside, I'm just trying to become a better version of myself. And for me personally, it's just letting go of that control. I was trying to control 2020 as much as I could, but I got to a part where I was like, dude, did I need to do all that? I just need to kind of go with the flow. But at the same time, be creative and know what I want. And know what I need and know what's necessary. And of course, doing what's right. Because that's always hard, doing what's right. It's like someone talking shit to me on Instagram where I'm like, I'll find you, motherfucker. And they won't find you when I'm done with you. I'm that guy. I can't tell you how many times my friends are like, bro, don't do that. And I've had a couple of stories where I've met up with dudes. Where I'm like, so what's up? You want to talk shit? You forgot I'm from New York? You forgot. I'm right here. You can't talk shit now. What's up? Got your time. You can't talk? Thank God I'm not that guy anymore. But the right thing to do is, you don't have to ignore it. You can acknowledge it and understand that this is this person's livelihood. And maybe they're suffering in a different way, that this is their way of expressing themselves. But should it affect you the way it does? Absolutely not. So if you know where it's coming from, the right thing to do is how you handle it in a positive way. Maybe, hey, man, I give out free hugs on Sunday. Let me know if you need some, But not taking the negative route of saying, let's go, motherfucker, because that you're holding on to that anger. It doesn't really serve any purpose. So maybe that's one thing I'm really working on, to not hunt motherfuckers down.
That's a goal we should all strive for, Uriah. Don't be hunting them efforts down. And after what you just said, shout out to my wife for putting up with my shit. How about that? Thank you all. I appreciate
it. We all got shit, man. We just gotta find somebody to put up with your shit. That's it.
That was never has the word shit been used so eloquently, Uriah. I appreciate it very much, man. Unbelievable. Hey, thank you so much for the time, man. You gave me way more than I could have possibly asked for. It was great catching up with you. February 13th, Uriah Hall versus Chris Weidman, the rematch over a decade in the making, UFC 258. Looking forward to seeing him, man. Anything else you want to get off your chest before you say goodbye?
I want to get his mouth off my chest right here. No, I got nothing to get off my chest, man. Listen, if I can give a message to the world right now, maybe America, let's stop being so sensitive. You know, you can't even call people pussies these days because pussies are strong. Pussy can take a beating. It can take a pounding. A baby could come out of pussy. So a lot of us are balls, just sensitive balls. Let's not be balls. Let's be pussy. Let's be strong.
I mean, there's not much more to say after that. Thank you, Uriah. I appreciate it, man.
No problem, brother.